Come on, let these people in.
Wait, we're live. Yelling at me. I asked you.
Yeah, go.
Stop fussing and back up from the camera. You fluff it down, or fluff it out. Pick the
Go.
pick the girl pattern already. All right, I'm letting them in.
Hello. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Welcome to the first board meeting of 2021.
Did you just have a great vacation, Tracy? Because you're in a really good mood.
Nope, I didn't have a great vacation at all. But sometimes you got to smile just to keep yourself in.
I know. Kudos.
It was a great inauguration last week. So
it was really nice.
That has me feeling amazing. Really amazing.
Yeah. That young woman was incredible.
She was. The whole event was so, leading up to it, I just kept saying to my husband, I just don't think we need to have anything. They need to just rent a room or find a room in the White House and just do a small ceremony just for loved ones. But it was really befitting. I think, I felt for the first time we needed that way.
We did. I think we needed a ceremony. I think he needed to be out in the West Front.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, look at Xavier, who's our little unofficial board member. He loves our meetings.
What a cutie.
Hi, Xavier.
Hold him up so we can see him, how big he is. Oh boy.
Oh.
He's so big. He's so cute. Look at you. Hi.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wait, I was mute that whole time. He's teething, so sleep has gone awry. So if I fall asleep during the meeting, I'm going to try my best to stay awake.
Oh. How old is he now, Christina?
He'll be 6 months next week.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Wow.
We're getting there. Look at that, standing up.
Time is flying. Are you showing him you're balancing it?
He is. He's showing off. He's performing. Thank you. Thanks, X-Man.
Well, I didn't get any apologies from anybody, but I know everybody's not here, but I'm wondering if we should go ahead and make a start and just hope some other folks will join when they get a chance. Did you hear anything, Tracy? Or
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8, so we have quorum.
80.
Right?
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Yep. Oh, and there's Sterling. Okay, there we go.
That's 9.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
On.
That's terrific. All right. Well then, welcome everybody to our January board meeting. Let's say the mission. Hold on. Wait. Don't say it yet. I gotta get over to it. Everybody have your mission in front of you on your board book.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The mission of Paul is to educate our students and to develop in them the capacity to be responsible citizens, independent thinkers, and leaders. And I've almost got that memorized. That's my goal as a chair, get that memorized before the
9-year mark.
Yeah, right. All right, so now I hope you've had a chance to see the minutes. And if we can get a motion to approve the minutes, please, from somebody.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Dan. And it looks like Jeff's willing to second it. Thank you, Jeff. Now I got to call the roll, right? So Gina. Okay, and Jeff. Okay, Dan.
Yep.
Janisa. Christina. So wave if you're approving. Yeah. Jackie.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Sterling.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Then the next thing we have is the CEO's report. So over to you, Dr. Wright.
All right. A couple of quick points. I don't have a really super huge report today. I'm going to get it started with just reminding everyone that we are in the process of reaccreditation. Yay! Super shout out to Manya, who's been doing a lot of the legwork and quarterbacking of getting everything organized for the reaccreditation. You know, we've long since submitted our applications and we're now in the self-study process, which is pretty extensive. Our report is about 65 pages. And we've gone through the process of dividing that up amongst the executive leadership team, who will then work with their teams to do any type of revision work. We anticipate being done with this in mid-February because it is due in late February. And then that means that the last piece will be either a virtual site visit, that they'll do in either February or March. And then we should be through reaccreditation, which is awesome. And we should be good for the next 5 years. Any questions about that? Jeff, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Who conducts it?
AALE, the American Academy for Liberal Education accreditation process.
Okay.
So all charters have to be accredited. There are a couple of accrediting agencies out there. The charter schools that I've worked for have all been AALE schools. And so I'm familiar with this process, not sure what the process looks like for other accrediting agencies.
This is a DC requirement?
It's a charter requirement.
For DC, it's not.
Yeah,
okay.
Not sure. I would imagine that other schools in other states need to be accredited. I'm sure that the expectation or that mandate extends beyond DC, but it's definitely a mandate for us.
It would be governed by state law.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not required in federal law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a heads up for the full board. The winter map data has come in and it's been processed with the school performance committee. We took a deep dive into that map data a couple of weeks ago. Jeff, I did get your recommendation. I'll send you a response to that tomorrow, just in thinking about that, and also send you a couple of additional reports that get at what you were talking about. But the kind of highlights are that the percentage of kids, of students meeting and exceeding growth targets are similar to 1920 and 1819. Same thing with the projected proficiency percentages for Park. And so the big tagline is that our kids are progressing roughly at the same rate as what they did when they were with us. But the secondary piece is why. They have less instructional time. And so, we have to unpack that, actually what's happening with play space that is able to happen faster in virtual, and how do we remedy that before we are fully place-based? Speaking of place-based learning, we are set to launch 4 groups, 2 at the middle school, 2 at the high school, relative to doing some on-site learning. We're targeting our students with IEPs and our L scholars. We've identified staff who is going to man those 4 days during the week. And so we're looking forward to, launching that. I think it's the second week of February. Dan, I saw the question about, has there been any conversation with the PCSB about the revision of our goals? I was going to bring that up. It's actually not on my report, but we are, for the SPC, started having the 5th grade conversation again to rally ourselves to be able to make a presentation to the executive committee and then to the full board to get a vote on whether or not we would be approved by our board to start planning to have a 5th grade. The work around adjusting our goals should happen in tandem with the decision about whether or not we're going to vote to start planning to have a 5th grade. because that will definitely be part of the revision process and also part of the impetus to start to maneuver and navigate around our probationary status. Okay. And then the last piece that I will share, well, two quick pieces. We have done a pretty significant rollout around projects. Projects represent 45% of our students' grades. This will be something that we tackle heavily in the SPC for the month of February, but there's been a ton of work that has been happening in the organization around more intentionality and focus around engaging our students in projects to really bolster their learning and their retention. And then the last thing is that we have made some shifts in our instructional delivery schedules so that our students have an asynchronous day on Friday. And I'm actually going to punt to Span for a little bit just to talk about our plans for what that Friday is going to look like for both our students and staff.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. So in essence, we've worked out a schedule for our weekly Fridays that allows for space for some key priorities. We'll have a space every week for professional development for our staff, approximately 2 hours, a little bit more than that when needed. And the main priorities that we're focusing on in our professional development is, of course, the ongoing analysis of student data coming from interims, MAAs, and ongoing formative assessments to help inform our focus on small group instruction and differentiated needs for scholars. Secondly, we'll be focusing on elevating our support and guidance around projects planning. Projects have always been a part of our grades at Paul, but over the past few weeks, we have begun to roll out more substantive and specific guidance and support with teachers on projects that will help to elevate the critical thinking. And we also expect for it to help to increase the student engagement and connectivity and voice in the class. So we'll have professional development on that. And then there'll be some as needed professional development such as culture deep dives, et cetera. So there's a professional development chunk. There's also space on Fridays at the beginning of each day for each school to connect with their scholars in community meetings or town hall meetings. We looked at other LEAs who had asynchronous learning days, and it has been a pattern and a trend. And we also think it's a wise strategy to still connect with scholars virtually, to see them at the beginning of the day, not just to take attendance, but to help to give them guidance for what they're doing during that day, and just to have a school check-in. There will also be space for critical priorities on that day every Friday for grade level teams to meet about overall data points with the grade levels, attendance, culture, et cetera. And we're really excited about a weekly space for our student support process, which is our process in which we actually look at students who need beyond tier 1 support, the support that all students are receiving instructionally. And so this will be a set time every Friday for the grade level teams to get together and develop strategies for those students who need a higher level of support, and bring artifacts every week to show evidence of how those students are progressing. Lastly, in the afternoon, we're going to have some time for office hours for students, along with individual planning time for teachers. And the vision behind this is that even on an asynchronous learning day, particularly if students are working on assignments they're making up or projects, we want to have a space in which students can connect with teachers in each of their major content areas to get individual support as needed. So there's an approximate 2-hour portion at the end of each day in which staff will be available, teachers for office hours, et cetera. So that's just the big buckets of what's happening that day. We are prioritizing really efficiently and strategically using that time for professional development, data analysis, because we have to make sure that the rest of the week, office hours and instructional block is some really deep substantive instruction.
Yeah. Done asynchronous before?
Say it again.
Have we done asynchronous days like this before? And how do we, so do we have stuff set up to ensure that students are productive in their days and actually measuring that?
Yeah. So Dan, we have had asynchronous learning days before, not every Friday, like we're going to shift to in a few weeks, but we've had approximately 3 or 4 since the beginning of the school year. And so we have evolved and gotten better in our structures and processes for how we set students up on that last class, that Wednesday or Thursday before that Friday, for what they have to turn in. And also the deliverables that they're working on is connected to attendance as well. And so it's a twofold thing, showing up for that Zoom meeting in the morning just for a quick touch base, and also getting that deliverable in that supports with their attendance for completing for the day. And our vision is, I'm sorry, that's my text, my phone going off. Our vision is that because this project work is going to entail, research, reading, and a lot of support with students on organization and pacing, we're actually working out student-facing pacing guides and calendars for this work that will really fold into the folder, into the Friday, on all the things you need to accomplish on Friday to be ready for the next week. So to answer your question, it's not new, but this is the first time we've had the set structure every week. And we are intentionally using it to really help students with pacing and organization with their work.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You had your hand up?
Yeah, and I'm not sure which bucket this falls into, so I'll just ask. One is, have we been getting feedback from parents about how they feel about in-person learning? I know doing a survey is a ton of work, and you guys have been doing that. And my second question, and I apologize if this is out of order, but I did want to know how vaccinations are going, if at all, with our staff and teachers. I know it's been a hot mess in Northern Virginia, so you can hold those, answer them later, or put them on the bulletin board to answer later tonight. But
actually, Span, you want to tackle just kind of the parent piece, and then I can add, and then Will, if you want to just give a quick update, because we actually got into the vaccination scramble today.
That's what I thought I read. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we haven't given a formal survey probably in about 2 months. We did a significant.
We usually do that in February, just to remind everyone.
That was our last one. But we've been really intentional about ensuring that, parents have an opportunity to be able to give us feedback informally through touch points with the principals, through parent grade level meetings that usually happen once per month, et cetera. It's really an intimate case-by-case situation for parents. So overall, parents have been really thankful for our efforts around the extra support we're giving in office hours, our efforts around the gentle harassment that we do when students don't show up for class. So, you would think that, parents who are working, the middle school child who won't show up for class, then they appreciate that call because they might not be able to be there in that space. So really, I feel like as an organization, we've gotten into a cadence in which parents are clear on our process, what we're expecting, know that we're going to do the outreach, when the scholar doesn't show up, and parents expect us to go over and beyond for support for their child. So, overall, we feel like we've gotten to a place of consistency and comfort with our in-person learning model. However, we know that everybody generally is kind of ready to see, okay, when we get into the building. The other thing I'll say with parents is we have reached out to the parents of students who we've tagged for that first wave of in-person building support. And so many of those parents were very appreciative of just intentionality with that selection of the first wave, because our first wave of scholars are scholars who, for whatever reason, the environment at home, whether it was they couldn't focus or they were continuous internet activities, it wasn't working. And so they appreciate our effort to really kind of say, okay, we're going to bring this group of students in so at least they can be in a space with stable internet, et cetera. And so there's been some appreciation for that.
And then we also have, we've kept some of our Cafe Con Chisme parent structures. Our PAG group is actually getting ready to start back up, I think, in February.
Right. We're actually meeting tonight for preliminary meeting at 7 o'clock. Yeah.
And then we have continue to have our SLC conferences and those different touch points with families as well.
Yeah.
Well, you want to talk about vaccinations real quick?
Yeah. So the vaccination rollout has been a hot mess. Gina, I think that in general, Paul has done really well. As I would argue is often the case, but charters were scheduled to be available based on how their charter leaders put their staff's names in the pot with very, very vague guidelines. That was scheduled to be open at noon yesterday. At noon yesterday, they wouldn't let us in, and at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they told us that the Pfizer shipment had not arrived to the center, so they just never opened up the appointment schedule. So today it ended up working out. They, promised that things would be open at noon. Nothing was open at noon. No, just kind of crickets. But we were able to finally get through the portal after talking to various other charter leaders. I don't know, by like 2 o'clock. And so a number of our staff got appointments. A number didn't. Some of our most vigilant staff didn't, because they had plotted their whole day around this noon time frame, and then we're teaching, or whatever else is going on. So I actually got a number of pieces of feedback just saying like, what's next. So our sense is that once they kind of get through this round of appointments, they'll know what is available, and they'll start opening up new appointments down the road. So, I think that's a good start. One of the great things is that this round, again, this is all very vague, but however they articulated it in the, I'm not sure if this is a charter thing, or like the charter school's interpretation of it, or Bowser's or DCPS's, but it's all staff that work at the school that fit a couple of criteria. So, for example, we were able to get all of our food contractors who are not technically Paul employees, but are serving a lot of kids at Paul and around the city on the list. They don't have Paul email addresses, but I was able to vet them and get them through the system. So all that being said, at this point, all current staff, employees, and contractors are available to get the vaccine. We've done some kind of messaging campaigns to try to share information and get more information out. There is definitely still some hesitance around the vaccine in some of our small pockets of communities, and so working to, as people start getting the vaccines, we're hoping to kind of continue to make sure the dialogue is kept open, so folks can feel supported and get answers they need. But yeah, as a technicality, everyone that wants to sign up can at this point, if there's an appointment available.
Yeah, getting an appointment is like getting an Xbox on sale on Black Friday at Walmart for $50. Like, it is literally a survival of the fittest to can hurry up and keep hitting the refresh button to try to get an appointment. So it is quite interesting. A little Planet Z-ish, like, oh, I need to get a ticket to get on the spaceship to get away from the aliens. That's what it kind of feels like. It's weird.
I was actually, the first week I tried it, I got locked out. But last week I went on 2 minutes before it was opened and kept on hitting the refresh, and I got in and made an appointment. So yeah, I was really lucky, I think, because a lot of people, it's just, I don't know, my internet just connected quickly, I guess.
Yeah. Most of us have appointments for this week. And as Will said, we have staff members who weren't able to do it. So the good news is that we all have Department of Health permission, which kind of gets us into like a special portal for us to be able to get the vaccinations should people choose. So that's good.
Yeah. My sense is that if people are hesitant right now, but change their mind and are really for it in 2 months, if they're still available, the portal that we seem to have access to, it doesn't go away. Yeah. Unless there's no vaccines left, which is certainly unfortunately possible.
Okay, so I'm gonna race through my last couple of pieces really quickly.
Sorry, Tracy, before you race through, I just wanted to go back to that original question. I was trying to add the work plan in, and I wasn't able to get to it fast enough. Just to remind us, we have on our work plan that the conversation with PCSB will happen in July. So that isn't scheduled to have happened yet. And remember that the targets that we're aiming for are the following year targets, not this year, but next year's targets. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen yet with the testing this year. But anyway, so we're on track for that we had agreed to a July date because we have some other things that we want to do, including the 5th grade discussion, but we have other things that are happening between now and then that set us up for that conversation. Sorry, Tracy, go ahead.
Yeah, wait a minute. Erin, what do you mean we don't know what's going to happen with this year's testing? What do you mean by that?
Well, Tracy probably is better positioned to talk about that unless I've missed something and you're on maybe actually SPC probably knows better than I do, but yeah. I didn't think that everything had been set and rolled out yet. Has that happened?
Well, it's not all been rolled out yet, like in terms of like definitive testing windows, testing protocols. The part that is definitive, and we just met with the state superintendent last week, is we're 100% sure there will not be a waiver. So that's like the new development. They're 100% sure we will not have a waiver. So part testing will happen. Access testing will not, because we're not in person. And then the MSAA, the testing for our special needs students, that also will not happen. But PARC is going to absolutely happen. It will be a shorter test. It will be given remotely. It does not have to be given on a secure server. And where the friction remains, and the DC Alliance is actually doing advocacy work around this, is how the data is presented, because there is a strong push for the data to not be made public, because we all agree that even though it's not high stakes and there are no accountability metrics attached to it this year, if the data is made public, it's an accountability metric, whether you say it or you don't say it. So the DC Alliance is in fact doing work around that. And yeah, we are definitely doing PARC. There's no relief from that.
Okay, I didn't realize that had been settled. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's you, Aaron, just so you know. Now that the Biden administration is in, they've assured us they're not giving us a waiver.
Probably the only way that you can keep it from being public is if they don't roll it up to the school level. In other words, they just provide you a file of individual student scores, which are confidential and can't be asked for by the media.
Yeah.
But if OSSI puts out school level reports or district, whatever it is, it becomes public information.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Tracy. Go ahead with your report, please.
So just enrollment really quickly. We are in the middle of enrollment season. The data that's in the CEO's report is stale because we get a new demand report every Monday. Where we are right now. In terms in terms of our middle school, this time last year, we had 86 students who had applied. In terms of our middle school, this time last year, we had 132 students who applied. This year, right now, we have 90 students who have applied. And of those 90 students, 50 have selected us in their top 3. This time last year, 86 had selected us in their top 3. So our middle school is definitely behind in terms of application numbers. There's tons of work, innovative work around getting those enrollment interests up. That's happening right now, but we are definitely tracking behind in the middle school. The high school is tracking on pace and in some areas above where they were. This time last year, we had 142 applications for high school, and we had 138 this year. That's where we are at 138. This time last year, 59 families picked us as their top 3. Right now, we have 63 families who've picked us as their top 3 schools. So our high school is tracking very similarly to where they were last school year. We're still actually unpeeling the onion to really get at what's the deal behind the lag. We understand that some of that is consistent with trends across the city, but then we just need to dig in deeper. What's interesting is that Ms. Spann and I, when on our check-in today, we were talking about, the year that we hit tier 3, our enrollment just blew up. And then here we are back in a stable place. The middle school's doing, really, really well. And it's come on, guys, where are the applications? And the same trend happened with the high school. When the high school was really on the struggle bus, applications out the wazoo. We hit tier 1 and it's like, hey, where are all the applications? So we're still working to peel away those layers, but there's tons of enrollment and recruitment work that's happening now. And then the last piece is just an FYI. We just got back our TNTP data and we're in the process of unpacking that. We had a brief engagement today with the executive team to go through it because the data was delivered on Friday. And we're meeting on Thursday to dig in deep with school leaders and school teams. And so we will dig into that data with the SPC in the month of February.
Just very quickly, does everybody know what that acronym is, or do we need to explain that, the TNTP?
I know it is.
Okay.
That's not what the acronym stands for.
I don't know what the acronym stands
It's
for.
the new teacher project. It's our teacher survey data.
Right, that's the important thing. It's the survey of how the teachers are feeling. And so we'll get that information. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Wright. Any more questions on the executive report? Kimber, are you talking to us or somebody else? Okay. I think it's somebody else. Will, sorry, Jeff, do you have something else, or should we go to the finance?
I know I don't want to talk a lot about the map data, but you could conclude that, from it that things are pretty good. Kids progressed as much as they did in previous years, on the one hand. And I'm not saying we conclude that right away. I mean, we have the interim assessment results. Tracy, I don't remember them exactly, but they might be off a little bit. So
our interim from A1 was up. Remember, we saw, in some grades, higher levels of proficiency than what we had seen in the past 2 years. But we're getting ready to administer interim assessments for A2 the week of February 5th or February 8th. What starts that week, Span? Is it the 5th through 8th?
Yeah, the 1st to the 5th. Next week is A2 interims.
Okay.
I think that'll be real important.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to our treasurer's report, please.
Good evening, everybody. I want to just share a couple of updates here. These items in our finance report are all just continuations of conversations that we've already had. So as always, feel free to take a deeper look in the board book, and I'm always eager and happy to connect with anyone for a longer, more detailed conversation. As we finalized our enrollment, there were 3 children that we were kind of haggling with folks over, and though we were granted all 3 of those students enrollment. So that is now articulated in this finance packet. There were also, as we finalized our last certification since the beginning of the school year, there were 12 students that had an increased level of their special education category. That money is spent on things like dedicated aids and so on and so forth. But there is increase in revenue expectations on the special education side. The rest of the story about enrollment you guys are familiar with. The expenses forecast has been updated to articulate a handful of items we've already spoken about. Some staffing shifts that have occurred of late in response to our enrollment this year, and 2 other items that are substantive that have again been mentioned in some context. One is our food program. Obviously, we're serving less children, but we are serving more than just kids at Paul. So less numbers, yes, but a more diverse group. But more impactful is actually that this year there is different legislation on how we get reimbursed. And so normally we get reimbursed a fixed fee of around $3 per meal served. If the child is on free lunch or reduced lunch, we get about that much reimbursement. So if we, regardless of how much money we spend per child, we get $3 back. Because of our costs are down because of the types of meals that we're serving that are a little more shelf stable, but also the rules during the summer are that if we are serving food if we are serving food from our building, then we have to give any child under 18 food for free. And so due to the pandemic, that summer rule has applied since March of last year. And so that has some substantive impact, because essentially every single meal that we serve, we get fully reimbursed for, and instead of either eating some of the costs or having to track parents down for their pay to pay for their meals. The only other substantive item has to do with our interest payments, and so that those have been updated to articulate some more accurate information that we were uncertain for about in the last year or so. So most importantly, our cash position remains strong, and we continue to move in a good direction.
Yeah, thanks, Will. I think the only thing I'll add is just to reiterate Will's last point, which is as we've gotten more clarity on expenses, revenue related to SPED and enrollment, our financial picture is looking better than it did a few months ago, and certainly when there was tremendous uncertainty in the year on how much we need to spend on hybrid and technology. So that's positive, and it's meant that certainly the Finance Committee has encouraged Dr. Wright and Will to ensure that they're investing in the students and faculty in the areas that they need to. So they certainly have that mandate and are doing that where needed. So hopefully that will continue, and our financial position will remain stable. But we do have some cushion now, so that's certainly positive for the school.
Any questions for Will or Dan? Thank you both for that update. Any questions for either of them?
Are we applying for a second PPP loan?
We're not eligible.
Yeah, we're not eligible.
Any other questions? All right, so the next item then is our committee reports. And since we've just heard from Finance, the other committee that you have minutes for is School Performance Committee. And then of course, there's also an Executive Committee minutes in there. So are there any questions about the School Performance Committee minutes or about the Executive Committee minutes, or any questions for either Janice or for me or anybody on either of those committees? Okay, then we have one item of new business, but before we move to that, are there any other items of new business? So we know what's on our plate here. Okay, well then Gina, it looks like it's over to you for your item, please.
Yes, thanks, Erin. So I sent this out on email, and the paulcharter.org email. So I don't know if folks got it or not. I'm not sure how everyone has that hooked up. But I included, as I mentioned in the November board meeting, a description for a new trustee. It's on page 13 of the board book. So if you didn't see the email, did anyone get the email from me about the description, Dan? Okay, yep. A couple of people did. Yeah, but people who check the Paul chart, you got to check your Paul email account. Okay. So basically, if we don't have, if we're looking for a new trustee who has some sort of a background in community-based organizations, behavioral wellness, social science, social services, or mental health services, with a particular, experience with low-income families and experience serving the Latino community. And that's on page 13. If no one here has any contacts in their network that you think might be appropriate, we'll just turn to education board partners. But we wanted to talk to other board members first, because we've had so much success recruiting friends of other or colleagues of other board members. So if you have anyone you think might fit this description, if you could email me and Christina, that would be great. I'll give it like a week. And if I don't hear from anyone, then I'll get with you about talking to charter board or education board partners and seeing what we can do about a broader recruitment effort. So any questions on that? And just, we have to have an odd number of board members. I believe we're at 12 right now. So we're not in desperate need of board members, but we need to have a certain number. We, I think, are in good shape on we need to have at least 50% of our board members are residents of the District of Columbia. I think we're okay on that too. So that is not an issue either, although it would be nice to have someone who's a DC resident as well. So
Gina, does education board partners charge a fee?
Yeah.
They do. Okay.
Yeah. It's not free.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, but we are looking for something pretty unique here. So, you know, and no one else on the board, I don't think, has this background. So it's possible we don't come up with anyone that we know. So.
All right. So we have a plan.
We have a plan. Yes.
And okay. So I think that is our final item, unless there's anything that anybody has. Speak up now if there is something that we need to discuss, or anything at all that somebody wants to say. Now's the time. Okay. Well then, I will adjourn the meeting and thank you all very much, and we will see you all in February.
Great. Thank you.
Have a
Good night, all.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, folks.